Many times we question, so what is a professional? Who is a professional? And the question led me in many different directions. I spoke to people of many different professions. And finally, I found my answer when I met somebody very unusual. And the book opens with a conversation about that unusual encounter. So let me read you the first chapter, which is called Burial of the Dead. What are the chances that you work in an entry-level position or even a middle-level job in a hotel, a hospital, a software company, or a government organization? Or for that matter, you could be a self-employed professional like a doctor, a lawyer, or a journalist. In all probability, you are educated, know English, and are working in the corporate sector. Perhaps you're an MBA or a student at an engineering college. You probably consider yourself a professional or on the road to becoming one. Definitely your station in life is well above someone whose job is to bury unclaimed corpses from city hospitals. I want to introduce the idea of who a professional is through a man whose life is dealing with dead bodies. Unclaimed dead bodies. This is not someone who is conventionally associated with the term professional. His name is Mahadeva. He came to Bangalore as a child when one day his mother simply walked out on her entire village and her own family in a huff. Mother and son lived on the streets. She worked to support him until the day she became very unwell. She brought herself and her son to the government-run Victoria Hospital. There she was admitted in a state of delirium, and her little son Mahadeva made the streets outside the hospital his home. He found many playmates among the urchins there, and soon that world engulfed him. It was the first time he had someone to play with. For little Mahadeva, it was his first experience of kinship, and he lost himself completely in the new world. It was pure happenstance that one day someone told him his mother had died. Where had he been when that happened? Died? What was that? The hospital had been unable to wait for him and had disposed of the body in the meantime. Now Mahadeva had nowhere to go, no family. If a few people in the hospital ward where his mother had been admitted raised some money to help him go back to his village, he refused. He was 8 years old at that time. Instead, he grew up running errands in the same hospital. The hanger-on who had helped his mother's admission process and made a living by running errands for the patients asked him to move in with him. He was an old man and who had no one either. Mahadeva grew up under his tutelage. The hospital became his universe. And then one day, the cops asked him to bury an unclaimed dead body and paid him rupees 200 for the job. This was when Mahadeva entered his profession and eventually became the go-to guy for burying the city's unclaimed corpses. Every time the police picked up a dead body that had no claimant, Mahadeva was summoned. He had to do a turnkey job, pull the stiff body from the morgue, hire a horse-drawn carriage, put the body in it, and take it to a burial ground, dig the ground, bury the dead, all by himself and for rupees 200. After doing the job, he would hang around in the hospital to be summoned to dispose of the next unclaimed body. Mahadeva did his work with such dedication, focus, care, and concern that he was much in demand. His work grew, and he brought his own horse-drawn carriage, and between his horse and himself, he was undertaker to the abandoned. One day, the horse died. People who had watched Mahadeva all these years came together and brought him an auto rickshaw. The white auto rickshaw, his hearse, carries the picture of the horse in memory of the animal who helped him take thousands of people to be laid to rest. The horse became the logo of his business and appears on his business card today. Mahadeva has buried more than 42,000 corpses in his lifetime, and his dedication has earned him phenomenal public recognition. Local petrol pumps do not charge him when his hearse is topped up, and Chief Minister of Karnataka felicitated him for his selfless service to the abundant citizens of Bangalore. Mahadeva is proud of his work and business, and today his son has joined him. Mahadeva is the true professional. What are the two qualities that Mahadeva has which differentiate a professional from someone who is simply professionally qualified? One is the ability to work unsupervised, and two, the ability to certify completion of one's own work. Whenever Mahadeva got a call to reach the morgue, day or night, hail or high water, he arrived. Most of the time, it was a gruesome experience dealing with a dead body. There was no telling what had been the cause of the death or the state of decomposition. In his business, Mahadeva does not choose his clients. He accepts them in whatever size, shape, or state they come. He treats them with respect and care, with due dignity, covering them with a white sheet, placing a garland around their necks before burying them. The day he buried the man who had taken him home after his mother died, he had cried. He was special, and Mahadeva had brought a garland as a mark of respect. And that day it occurred to him that he should be garlanding all the bodies he buried, not just his benefactors. Everyone deserves respect, and no one should feel, quote unquote, unwanted in death, even if life had treated them that way. The cops do not supervise Mahadeva. He is not an employee of the hospital. He is the outsourcing agency the hospital has engaged for the disposal of all unwanted cadavers. He does not have a boss who writes his appraisal, giving him constructive feedback for continuous improvement. In most work environment, people who produce anything of economic value usually need supervision. A person who needs supervision is no professional. He is an amateur, maybe an apprentice. Whenever Mahadeva picks up a corpse, it goes straight to the burial ground, no place else. He completes the task with the immediacy it demands, and he certifies his own completion of the task. Between the dead and the living, there's no one to question him. So that's the first chapter of the book. Let me read you the last chapter. This is titled Return of the Dead. Short chapter, not take a long time. On 31st March 2009, Bangalore woke up to these headlines on the front page of Times of India. 4 cops sell unclaimed body, get booted out. According to the paper, sometime in August 2006, the police station in Madiwala got a call from a hotel owner. The man reported a dead body lying outside his hotel. The policemen picked up the dead body and declared that it was a case of death of a mentally retarded man who had fallen on a bush of thorns. They subsequently took the body to a medical college and sold the body of the dead man. When the dead man's son surfaced and lodged a complaint for his missing father, one thing led to another, and finally the whole story came out. After the investigations, the police commissioner dismissed an inspector, a sub-inspector, an assistant sub-inspector, and a constable for their complicity in the shocking case. These policemen, despite their professional training, their uniform, their power, and their authority, can never be considered to be professionals. Mahadeva, the man whose profession is the burial of unclaimed dead bodies, will always remain a professional's professional, because ultimately, being a professional is a matter of personal choice and the values we opt to live by. Thank you very much.